Welcome back to Big Red Rant, everybody. Gary, what's going on, man? Big news. Scott Frost gets fired. Lickety split. Were you expecting it to happen this morning, man?
Yeah, I called it, man. I've been saying to hell with that 7.5. Get them
Yeah,
gone.
that's what you were saying in our
That's what I
video,
was
isn't
saying.
it?
Yeah, that's what I've been saying for a while.
Yeah. To be fair, bro, you were onto something. I watched Connor's video on Corn Craze, and he was saying the same thing initially. He's like, yeah, I think we wait. Let's just save that money, blah, blah. So to your credit, it was a good idea, but they went my emotional route.
I don't know, man. Like that's what I assumed if they did it, but watching the
Yeah, are you talking about how he's trying to set it up to make it look like to other coaches, hey, you show up here, we'll pay out, we take
yeah,
care
but I mean,
of
it
ours.
also like I took it as like you were saying yesterday, and like more than a handful of people pointed out to me in the comments that money isn't an issue, and that's great. You know what I mean? That's actually a big takeaway for me. If now we know going into it, because when they were looking at Frost and different previous coaches, some guys were like, they're not going to dump that kind of money into a coach, and now it's like, all right, sky's the limit. There is no bottom to the bank account, and there's no limit on the caliber or type of guy we can go after. I don't know of that group or that upper echelon who's going to want to come here, but it's nice to know that essentially there's no limits. There's no restrictions on any of
Oh, man, Mickey Joseph takes over.
it.
Did you hear what Trev had to say about that? As far as they asked him specifically, does he have a chance to coach his way into continuing to be the head coach?
Yeah.
What did you think about his response?
My biggest takeaway from that entire interview or press conference with Alberts was right at the end when they asked him if there's any other changes other than Frost, and he says no. And then without being asked, he goes, but if Mickey decides he wants to make some changes, I'll support him. So, like, to me, he has more than just a legit shot at it if they're giving him that much free reign. And maybe that could be because even if they're like, no, we're not going to go with Mickey, we're going to go with a bigger name or somebody who's has previous head coaching experience at a high level or winning championships or whatnot. It's not going to matter because they're going to come in and clean house anyways. But it's good. I think it's a good thing to let that at least transpire, have a shot at seeing what happens, whether that pans out or not. Because instantly, as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, you mean like maybe a couple line coach position changes? Like
Yeah.
there's people get, and this is the other part where I was kind of right on a little bit last night when we were talking, is the second there's a change announced, there's going to be obviously divided ideas and thoughts, but you always have this big group of optimism. And as soon as it turns into, okay, now it's Mickey Joseph, now you're going to hear that, well, what if he does this, or what if this pans out, or I could see us winning this many games or doing whatever. But back to the point you were making when we were talking about it, because you remember when I said, if you get rid of Frost and you leave all these guys here, and for some reason the team hits a hot spell at some point in the season, by accident, on purpose, because the new coach does push some buttons that Frost wasn't pushing. I don't know what much more they're going to be able to do when they're more directly involved with their positions. Does that make sense? So like,
Yeah.
they had more time, or they still will, but like say Mickey Joseph, for example, and I don't think the receivers have been a problem, but he had as much personal time with his receivers as he was going to get. Now he's going to, if anything, he's going to be pulled away from a little bit to handle the head coaching deal. So I don't know what changes, especially on the lines where I think the biggest issues have been now, because there's a different guy overcharged. You know what I mean? Is he going to go spend more time in those meeting rooms and step away from the receiving room a little bit more and go address the defensive line and the offensive line, talk to Dawson or Rayola or Whipple to change things up schematically that will let them excel in areas that we've supposedly heard all camp long that they were excelling in? Like, I just don't see where that's going to happen. But now, if and when it does happen, they go on a little roll, they get some wins, it's going to be like, oh, well, maybe this was what we needed. I mean, You know, does that make sense? Like, I don't think much changes from a guy that's already been there all camp long, just taking over the head coaching job, as opposed to all those guys are still coaching and putting in their schemes and sets and everything else in all those position rooms.
I think our problems are deeper seated, bro, than
100%.
just a new voice coming in and being able to spur the change. And I mean, yeah. I like Mickey, of course. He's another Husker alum. He's got Husker blood running through his veins. Everyone loves that. But bro, I remember vividly the day that Bo Pelini took over. And I remember feeling like things are finally going to change. This guy, you know? So it's like, I'm done caring about how much I love these coaches and like them on a personal level. This Frost thing, dude, I loved Frost like I married him. Like I had gotten down on one knee and proposed to this man at some point. Like I loved him irrationally. Because in the end, can we just very specifically go over the reason why he got fired, Gary? The biggest reason why, in my opinion, and I think you'll agree, is that he refused to focus on the line play on both sides. Our offensive line never got better, and our defensive line was pretty good, but now seems like shit. I mean, when an air raid Georgia Southern, no offense, team is running straight through you like Swiss cheese, like you were there at the game. You said that it felt like there was no semblance of a defense. When I was watching it, it felt like I was just in disbelief. I couldn't comprehend what I was seeing, but it was so obvious that I just accepted it. And I said, okay, we can't stop the run, period. End of story. Oklahoma is going to just jack stomp us. I understood that very quickly. Do you feel like that's the biggest reason why he had to go? Because he never fixed the line and turned us into a Big Ten style line on both sides?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, had he not done that and they figured out a way to game plan around and win games, he'd still be there. So, I mean, but yeah, that's kind of the crux of the whole argument. That's why they're not winning games, right? And I don't think enough emphasis has been brought up on the previous. I can't think of his name. Went to Oregon, the D-line coach. Whatever. Somebody will probably tell you in the comments or whatever. But that changed this year, right? So this is Dawson back on the D-line this first year, and I don't know that he didn't address it. You would think a guy who is so based in running the ball, you know what I mean? Like from the time he played to his time in Oregon to his time at UCF, there was so much of a run-heavy game, run the quarterback, things like that. I just don't think he succeeded in establishing a powerful, you know, or at least manageable offensive line to be able to run the styles of offense that not only he wants to do, but almost any style of offense you want to plug into there. So, yeah, I mean, essentially, but it just comes down to he couldn't win games. And not just couldn't win games. It's not like there was a plateau for a while and it's like, oh, we got to get up over this hump. There was regression over the last few years. So I mean, I'm honestly surprised. I'm not surprised because it was Bill Moose hire and Alberts just got there last year, but say we had the same AD across, and especially if it hadn't been their hire, I don't think he would have lasted this long. I mean, who else would have lasted this long with this much of a decline from day one to now?
Nobody, man. We would have chased him out of town, you know, Frankenstein style with pitchforks and flames. I want to go to the chat and just say what's up to everybody. So Roy in the house, we got Tim, we got Huntak, Kappa, Timothy Garmin, Bioling, hope I'm saying that right, Tyler O'Connor, Never Mind Me, Angel, Chris, another Tyler. You see anything in the chat? I see Tyler saying Bo Rude as interim DC. Sure, you know, I'm
Do you
done.
think Mickey Joseph jumps in and starts making those types of changes?
Well, if Trev Albert is telling the truth, it sounds like his conversation with Mickey went a little something like this. All right, I'm going to take some liberties here. Hey, Mickey, we're going to do a national search, but I want you to know I'm not blowing smoke up your ass here. If you really turn this program around in the time you have, I don't mind giving you a couple more years here as the head coach, but that's up to you. But he told him he wants him to make decisions as if he's the head coach. So he's leaving that up to him.
Yeah, but I'm saying, do you think that's a move he's looking to make? Do you think?
I do.
We don't know what's going on back there. He could have walked in the door, and maybe the reason he didn't, a lot of people have said that he didn't take the wide receiver spot previously, and this year it took him being given that associate head coach title along with receivers coach. Maybe it had to do with he didn't like the defense we ran or the offensive line play we had, or maybe there was we don't know. But I'm just saying, like, without knowing that, just a guess, just a hunch, do you see him? To me, he's not going to give you the same press conference every time. He's going to tell you, man, we got guys doing this and we need this out of them. You know what I mean? I think there's going to be a lot more expectation and holding guys accountable from his end. So I would think that that's going to translate to the coaches that are now underneath of him. And I don't know. I definitely don't think he gets rid of Whipple. And I don't know about the line, though. I was thinking, like, on the offensive side, there's no way Applewhite goes. I mean, the running backs have been really the only bright spot. Right. So you're just looking at defense, and it's like, I mean, maybe Dawson, but I mean, does he go full wholesale and say Shenander's gone and find somebody else? And it's,
I think,
who would he have in mind at this point in the year that you can get?
If you're Mickey and your goal is to continue on, I mean, this is his first chance to be a head coach at this level. He's been a head coach before, but not at this level. You got to think this is his one shot. He's not one shot, but this is his first shot. I don't think he wants to screw it up. And he doesn't have any attachments to those guys. Does he have any attachments to Chenander?
That's what I'm saying.
No.
But the question is mid-season. It's not like there's this
get him gone
that you're going to be able to choose from.
Get him gone. I'll bring Connor from Corn Crazed in right now to run the defense. Don't look at me like that.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's going to be a ton of that. The emotional.
So move somebody up. Move somebody, I don't care, and it's not going to matter. It's not going to change. But
that's why I don't think it happens.
It's
man.
not going to change. But Shenander's got to go, dog.
So you bring in a different defensive guy that's somewhere, wherever on the sidelines there that we don't hear much of. And he implements an entire new system mid-season? No, he's going to be calling the same plays that Shenander's calling. So,
no.
What kind of changes happen mid-season?
I think.
This was my point yesterday.
You pull the black shirts away from them for the mental boost that they need. I mean, I would assume their black shirts have been burned. I would
assume they turned them in.
I'm sure they probably returned them to the sporting goods store in which they were bought. All right, but then pull players. Hey, you number whatever. Don't want to call anyone out. Get your fat ass on the sideline. Hey, you. You haven't been playing yet. Can your fat ass tackle? Get out there.
I don't know that we need to insult
that. That's the next step.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm just saying fat because it's line play. That's the kind of hard-nosed
coaching you bring to the team.
Well, that's how my dad taught.
Fat shaming.
That's how my dad coached. My dad was fat as hell. You know it. All right?
I'm not saying nobody should go. I'm not saying you can't do these moves. I'm saying mid-season, when there's not this pool of people to go pulling from, you're super limited. Whether you decide you're going to cut guys or not, get rid of guys or not. So if he's trying to leverage this into a head coaching spot, be it here or somewhere else, does it make sense to take some of the more established things that you already have on the team, be them good or bad, and as opposed to tweaking them and trying to make them benefit the team in your best interest throughout the rest of the season? Or do you do like you're saying, get them gone, and you go through and start kicking people out of their offices, and then you're looking for janitors and whatnot to fill in spots, and it looks even worse? Or you manage to do something as an offensive-minded guy that gets the offense even maybe just establishing drives longer, or almost never punting. I know they looked good yesterday. In the second half, they looked good against North Dakota, but we're getting ready to go against Oklahoma and then through the Big Ten, right? So as good as the offense has been, arguably, debatably, I don't think it's been as good as people have made it up to be. It's going to have to be a lot better going through the rest of the schedule we're about to go through. So do you want to potentially, maybe you feel that you can elevate that, which I'm sure he does. I'm sure every person on that coaching staff thinks that, and then get rid of all these guys on defense and create more of an inconsistency or influx on the defensive side, where maybe you could limp through a handful more games than they would have had you not been bumped up into that spot, but you kind of tripped yourself up by getting rid of the guys on the defensive side. You can get rid of them at the end of the year. Most likely would anyways, right?
See, but it's a free year. So I want to see.
It's not for him. It's not for Mickey Joseph. If he doesn't do something significant, we're still talking about Mickey Joseph here. Like, we can go into that later.
Do you think he wants the same defense out there? I mean, someone has to change. Someone has to go other than Frost, because, dude, Frost is getting fired for like a totality of issues. It's not just that one loss. Like, that loss was a gigantic nail in his coffin, but it was a long time coming, and this just sealed it. You know what I'm saying?
I'm asking you to put yourself in Mickey Joseph's shoes. He wants to. I mean, he obviously wants to be a head coach, right? He wouldn't have wanted the head coach assistant title, associate title, and accepted this. Had he not wanted that? So whether he's coaching the rest of this season to try and earn his way in a permanent role as head coach, or to be a head coach at North Dakota and work his way up, or wherever, he's going to try and do everything he can to make it look like him putting his fingerprints all over this the rest of the season has made a drastic change, a drastic difference, right? I mean, like, everybody agrees on that, right? I don't know who would disagree with that. So yeah. I'm asking, what's the best way for him to do that? Is it taking these coaches, let's say it's just Shenander, but let's say it's Shenander, Dawson, and Fisher, just for argument's sake, and goes, shit ain't working, you got to go. And he finds some other guys. Maybe there's a couple guys out of work he brings in and does whatever. But now, or he brings guys that are already there up. But either way, either you're sticking with the system you have and just different guys are calling the plays. Maybe they're game planning a little bit different, or changing and interchanging the way some of those plays are called. Or you're bringing somebody in that's trying to week by week gradually implement new styles and new systems. I don't understand how that benefits him.
You got trolled.
I usually do.
Moonbot7 says, didn't this guy Gary say no way they'd fire Frost before October 1st? Yeah, Gary, I was right. You were wrong. But I do want to point out, isn't it crazy that we called this whole, like, if you guys go back and look, our channel has had a little bit of a glow up, all right? We've gotten better at YouTube. Back before, we had crappy thumbnails, we were using StreamYard and stuff like that. We did a video back in the day, like, what was it, December, when they brought him in, and we said, hey, is this the successor? Is this guy going to be the successor for Scott Frost if things fail? And go ahead and look at those comments. Boy, oh boy, did we get shellacked as idiots, and here we are. So we did call that, all right? But you made a boneheaded move saying,
but I mean, yeah, I mean, absolutely. But so did thousands and thousands of other people assume that's
don't put it on other people. Don't put it on other people.
It's not like it's this crazy idea that to save $7.5 million, a program would wait one game over the course of almost 3 weeks to do that. So like, but like I said at the beginning, that I'm sure won't get brought up. If anything, that makes me feel better going into looking for a new coach, because clearly, and Trev Alberts all but said it, money isn't an option. Money doesn't matter. Yeah, here's 30 million. See ya. Do your thing. And he alluded to going and looking like resources aren't going to be in the way or aren't going to be a problem as far as getting another coach. So it's like, okay, man, look, a lot of like, to go back to what I said at the beginning when you and I first were talking about it, when they hired Riley and when they hired Frost, there was a lot of, well, they're not going to go after this guy. They're not going to give somebody this much money, or it would take this much money to pull this guy or do whatever. That's kind of what I was basing things off of going into this money situation of how much you're going to be paying another guy after he's gone. But clearly that's not a problem any longer, right? So good. Like now there's no reason to think that there is a guy that's possible to get either off of the couch or out of another building. There's no limit to it, right?
Trev
Alberts, no problem getting it.
Trev Alberts was super slick with his response, bro. Yeah. They asked him about the money, and he said, no, he acted like it was nothing, bro. He acted like your dad picking up the check when he fed the entire family and your kids. And you know what I'm saying? Like, he was just like, yeah, no, Nebraska has a long tradition of honoring our commitments. And so we don't have any problem paying him the money we told him that we were going to pay. He basically just said, hey, Bobby Stoops, you show up, you're getting paid. Even if you F up here, you're going to get paid. We're not going to screw you. Not just Bob Stoops, anybody, right? Insert coach. Now, I would say Urban Meyer, and I'm high on that Urban Meyer train. But another thing Trev Alberts said that makes me think that it almost seemed like he was shooting down Urban Meyer is he went into a little bit of detail talking about how important it is to find a coach that has the character that Nebraska cares about. And he was basically just screaming, it ain't going to be Urban. What did you think about that? And did I read that wrong?
Maybe. Yeah, I thought the same thing at that part. But early on when they were talking to him about, does he have a list or a short list or whatever? And he's like, which that question's kind of weird to me, because it's like every single person, you and I, every person in the comments watching that don't know who we are, just everybody has a list. Like if you ask somebody, if you're going to hire a coach, who would you get? A few guys are going to pop into your head, right? So like, obviously he has that. I'm guessing they wanted him to give more insight to try and figure out who's in his head or whatever. But the way he said, he's like, yeah, obviously I hear this and we know who's available and the talkings of different things, which I thought kind of was alluding to him then, since that was after that Dan Patrick deal just kind of blew up all over the place. But then to your point, yeah, when he went back and like he has specifically addressed a few things, but as soon as he said that, it's like, well, there goes Urban's chances. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't take anything away from that conference as far as an insight or a clue on who we would or wouldn't get. It's going to be a long deal. And like I told you when we were talking earlier, I'll bet every other day for the next 2 months, you're going to hear a new name.
Quick shout out to the chat, man. Everybody, chat is going wild. We appreciate you guys. I want to get to some chat questions. We want to talk to y'all. If you guys haven't hit the like button yet in the chat, please do. Send it out to the algorithm, trick them into getting more people in here. You know what I'm saying? So do you have a short list? Do you guys in the chat have a short list? Tell us some names of coaches, and let's shoot these Gary's way, and let's see what Gary thinks here. I'll tell you what I think, but I'm a little bit more interested in seeing what Gary thinks about these coaches. I'm seeing Matt Campbell a lot. What do you think about that?
I'm not a big fan. What do you think about it?
It's not high on my list, but I could be persuaded by a smarter man.
You're gonna have to scroll through your comments and see what you got, man. I don't know a whole lot about Iowa State or him, to be honest, but Iowa State to me has kind of been average, maybe a little above. They've looked a little bit better than average being in the Big 12. And I mean, you saw them against Iowa yesterday. You could say they snapped their streak against Iowa and ours is still going, and that would be 100% fair. But like, is that what our new bar is just beating Iowa? You know, and like that's the other thing that I think people get mixed up when I'm talking about, like, who do you bring in? Like, I'm saying we can't get somebody. I'm saying, who do you bring in? When you got Scott Frost, that was kind of like the guy a lot of people going.
Everybody wanted him at that point. Yeah.
And we got him because we were Nebraska, right? Like, so that's where he wanted to go. So everything kind of panned out and worked out. If by the end of the season, other jobs open up, who are you going to get? Not that's better than Scott Frost, but it's better than what Pelini was doing, because that's the bar, right? That's when everything kind of 9 wins wasn't enough. We need to compete, not just compete, but not get blown out and actually win a couple conference titles and at least be in the running to be in the playoffs from time to time. So that's a huge jump, obviously, from where we're at now. But it's not just if you want to set the bar, can we be better than a 4-win team? Yeah, go get any of these guys people are throwing out. Absolutely any of them. And we'll get more than 4 wins. But I don't think that's what the bar is. I think that's just so far up from where we're at now, or we've sunk so low that it seems like that's this achievement of like, oh, you could get anybody that would be better than Frost. Yeah, I know. But we got Frost because what they got to replace Pelini to try and get better than the 9 wins and getting blown out in the Big Ten championship every year didn't work. So now go back to that bar. That's what you're trying to get over, right? And I just don't see him as really doing that. I don't see that Iowa State has blown up that much. They didn't look that great against Iowa. I mean, Iowa's offense is absolutely horrible, but I don't know. I'm not that impressed. I don't have a whole lot. But to be fair, I haven't done a whole lot on any of the coaches, man. On any of the coaches that people have talked about or names you see popping up, I don't know a ton about them.
Let's circle back to Urban Meyer, because we're getting a lot of Urban Meyer in the chat. Okay. Any possibility Trev Albert could have made that comment about it's important to us to find somebody that matches Nebraska's character? Mm-hmm. Is there any way he could make that statement and still go out and get Urban Meyer? Does that put a nail in it?
Say it again.
Can Trev Albert say in his press conference today?
Oh, okay, I got you.
The thing that he said about how important it is to us that we have a coach that reflects our character. Yeah, I'm screwing up that quote, but can he say that and still sign Urban, or is that done?
I mean, people don't like Urban Meyer, but I mean, as far as character goes, what are you talking about?
He got bust. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm finishing my what I'm trying to say here.
Make it
got
quick.
Caught on camera diddling some chick at a bar, right?
And getting grinded on.
Okay,
but also he didn't fly back with his team, which is a no-no. First coach ever to be like, yeah, you guys go ahead. I got some chick I'm meeting up with at my bar because I used to run this town.
And he's married.
Andy's married.
But so the reason I'm bringing that stuff up and setting that up is like we could go back through a gauntlet of rumors or things that come up with people at Nebraska. Like this whole idea that Nebraska's this, oh, shucks, good old pure, whatever you want to call it type thing is like, no, man, it's not. From players to previous coaches and assistants and things like that have been excused. I mean, didn't we have a coordinator doing coke at college parties with some of the
Was that Pelini's brother?
I'm not saying names. You're saying names.
Oh, I mean, not Pelini's brother. What are you talking about?
And granted, he was gone after that and everything like that. But I'm just saying, like, what are we talking about level of character? I mean, I don't think
not a disgrace.
A bunch of
not a disgrace.
He didn't get a DUI with a college chick on the back of his motorcycle. There isn't pictures of him laying in bed after nailing some college chick from Snapchat.
I want Urban Meyer so bad. He's my
I'm just saying this character thing, somebody's going to have to tell me, because like if it's drastic one way or the other, I can tell you, yeah, they meet the character thing. No, they don't. But when it gets to like what happened last year with Urban Meyer, if that's what you're talking about, or if you're talking about oh, the recruiting class doesn't look this good, or things are about to take a dip. So now I got health things and I want to watch my kid play games, leaving. That's kind of that's more of a character issue to me as far as getting your coach goes. But I don't know. What's the line? I'd have to get a little bit more of a what people think, or not people, what Trev Alberts thinks the line for character is.
Bro,
for Nebraska.
I've officially made it, bro. Husk guys used my edit. I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad, bro. They used my edit. Huh?
I'll just repeat what you said.
That's crazy. Like, what a world, bro. Husk guys used my Urban Meyer edit. I don't know what they did, and they should have asked me. I could have sent. I mean, what? I don't know. They slapped their own like little. We'll get them a better copy of it. But so, no on Urban Meyer. Do you think? I mean, let's just go with the likelihood. We both want him, and I think we both agree he would change things the way we want things to be changed for a short amount of time.
Quickly.
And then his ticker would start to fuss when he got some violations. But I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to sell my soul. You know?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got let's go back. Okay. Do any of the Stoops brothers tickle your fancy?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'd both be good.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, again, if you're looking at like a longevity thing, I don't think Bob Stoops would be a good thing. If you're looking at a quick short-term deal and then maybe have another guy that you're grooming to come in, which I think you would want to do with Urban Meyer, or maybe not even groom him, just see what happens over the 4 years or whatever they decide to stick around and flip things back to relevancy at least, and then see what kind of candidates you can get at that point. Maybe there's somebody, well, for sure there would be in 4 years, somebody that we're not even talking about now that's just now getting ready to come up. So, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of people that I've heard where I'm like, no, I don't want them. Like even going back to Campbell, yeah, that's fine. He's a younger guy. It's not like it's going to be the detriment if things don't pan out. You get somebody, you know, I won't be surprised if we get, no matter who we get, if we're right back in this spot 4 or 5 years from now, for better or for worse, whether we get somebody who doesn't pan out, so we're back in this boat trying to find someone, or we get a guy like, you know, if you say like Stoops or Urban Meyer or something like that, that kind of does his thing in a 2-year span. We're competitive, do our thing another year or two, and it's like, okay, I'm good, I'm out. This either isn't going anywhere. I did what I want to do, I'm out, and then we're right back to hiring somebody. I think it's very slim chance that we find a guy that has enough youth and enough ability to come in, gradually keep getting things better and better, and he's here for the next 10 years or so. What do you think on that angle?
No, I agree with you. I completely agree, man. Lane Kiffin. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because he's bounced around. I don't think that Lane Kiffin's brand is above the Huskers brand. Honest to God, I don't. I know he's had success here and there, and that's cool, but he's also had some stinkers. I like him as a football mind. I mean, he's on the list for me, but he ain't top 5, but he's on the list. And if we got there, I'd convince myself that I wanted it all along.
Kiffin's one of the guys for me that I don't want him as I don't care for him as a coach. I think he needs to be at a smaller school. I know he's doing his thing in the SEC now, whatever, but I think like a bigger stage and conference and things like that, he's either going to be mediocre, a little below, or just not work, you know, kind of like, was it USC and Tennessee or whatever, things like that. But I love like the lack of filter or his comments and things like, so I wouldn't be mad because it would be entertaining. I feel like kind of like Mike Leach. It'd be hilarious to have him. I think Mike Leach is a good coach, but I don't know, that one I'm just like, yeah, I wouldn't feel like, oh shit, here comes we're back. You know what I mean? I wouldn't feel like that, but I would, whoever we get, man, I'm going to be like interested. You know what I mean? I don't really see us making a hire where I'm just like, no, like all pissed off or whatever. So I'm honestly kind of excited to just see what happens, what directions things go.
Watching Frost, I guess they got video. Savage, bro. They didn't have to get video of him getting into a truck and leaving the stadium. Like, that's just cold-blooded. Like, man, whoever gets this job, it's going to be a lot of pressure. And I feel like when he walked off the field, I feel like I saw in his face this, like, just this immense weight just kind of lifted off. Like, almost like he was relieved that he knew it was over. Did you see that at all? Because, I mean, he looked...
Yeah, I'm
he
sure
looked
there's
different.
Something to that, yeah. I mean, dude's was in a pressure cooker for however long. He like talk about how presidents age or whatever, and you see that dude. It's like his press conference this year. His press conferences doesn't seem like he's about to cry at every press conference. Like he's holding back, like being choked up or whatnot.
I want to give credit to everybody who's saying this name. So Joey's saying it. Tim agrees. This is big, and I don't know why I haven't thought of this, man. Maybe Justin Fields has got me all worked up, and I'm not thinking clearly. John Gruden. John Gruden.
Now, are we bringing him up because he's a big name coach? Or are we bringing him up because we're going back to the Trev Alberts character parameters?
That is a whole thing, right? That's a whole thing.
We have to
do an entire podcast.
I'm dragging you into where my mind was when you asked me about the Urban Meyer characters. Like, what's the bar? You know what I mean? What's the deal we're going with here? You can make an argument that Gruden character-wise would be a worse hire than Urban Meyer. I think quite a few people would make that argument. Yeah.
I mean, should we even skate on that ice at this point? Or
I mean, I'll talk about whatever. You know
all right,
what I mean? I'm just saying, like, what's the bar? What's the character bar?
Let's leave the character out of it. All right?
Okay.
Stop going down that road.
So you don't like things being flipped, your question being flipped back?
No.
No, I don't.
But I'm man enough to admit it. Now, as a football coach without the baggage, say that they looked past his baggage. John Gruden.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
do you like anyone? Should you be the coach? Is that what you're alluding to?
That'd probably be great.
Who is a good coach?
I just said there isn't anybody I don't like, or I would be like, oh no, I don't want them. There's tons of
I'm throwing these sexy names at you. You're like,
tons of names out that people talk about. There's not there. There also isn't a coach that I'm just like, God, I hope we get that dude. I think that dude would come in and we'd be back to running through 7 out of 10 years, winning the conference and competing for 3 or 4 titles a year. I don't think that exists. So it's just like, I don't know, man. We need to get somebody in here in this unique situation, both program and what they have to work with, to try and fix, and the expectations they have to live up to, and see how things progress and how they do. I mean, Scott Frost looked like the ideal situation. Like, he went to UCF where they lose every game, went 500, and then went undefeated. From here, all that stuff, the type of shit we weren't getting from Riley and everything else came in. And as you watch it unfold, it went the exact opposite of what we thought. So I don't care who we get. Like, I don't mean I don't care who we get. Like, we'll see as this year goes on and how things go, what it seems like we need more, what the better fits would be. But I don't know. I don't like going back to the players when we hear we're getting this player, he's a stud and this and that. It's like, okay, well, let's see how he does in the field. Like, I'm not the one that gets all excited or fired up because some kid has good highlights in high school. It's kind of the same thing with when a coach did it another place, hasn't really proven to carry over to the next program they go to. And there's other schools like that. There's other coaches that are hot names and they go to, what was the dude's name? He always comes on, Peterson, when Boise State, and they looked so good. And he went to Washington, who was already pretty decent, and then just completely went down. You know what I mean? Like, you get different scenarios and situations like that with coaches. It's just, Yeah, man, find somebody who's good. Find somebody who has a plan. That we're not going to know all that. That's what Trev Alberts and the people he's putting together are going to figure out, and then we'll see what I hope whoever it is, shit works out. But there's not. I don't have a guy that I'm just like, oh God, it's got to be him. It's him or nobody.
Bret Bielema.
Okay, change my mind. I do not want that dude.
You don't?
No.
See,
I know people talked about him before we got. Was it Riley?
Yeah.
I'm not a Bret
dog.
Bielema
Like,
guy.
Okay. But is it fair to say that he does well what the Huskers have been lacking? Offensive line and run game and toughness. So that's why I like him, because he seems like the cure to what ails us.
Yeah.
What's wrong with them?
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean,
I don't know. Maybe it'd be different, but I just, especially now that they seem to be able to get other, like the skill players, it's kind of, I don't know. I just feel like he didn't look good in the SEC. Illinois doesn't look good. Like, I mean, yeah, they beat us. Okay. Georgia Southern beat us. North Dakota almost did. So like that kind of argument stuff has to go away. I mean, well, that team's better than you guys. Yeah, we're dead rock bottom. You know what I mean? So like using us as a measuring tool doesn't really work for me anymore. So he did pretty well in the Big Ten, but then not very good at all at I almost said Exarban at Arkansas. And now he's not. I mean, it's only the very beginning of his second year at Illinois, so we'll see what happens. But it just doesn't seem like the type of guy where there's a lot of pop to it in terms of guys wanting to come play for you or a big draw to the program. But I do agree with you on the line play.
Alexander Wenner in the chat says, Gabe, what the F are these suggestions from you? Bro, I'm literally reading the chat. They're not I'm not coming up with these off the top of my head, I swear. We go back up here because there's some other ones. Did I mention Dave Aranda? Because a lot of people want Dave Aranda.
Who would you, let's come back to that, but who would you take? Like if you could make the choice or you had a top, whatever, who would be your all-time?
Available?
Yeah.
See, okay, I need to preface this.
No, not even available necessarily.
I need to
or that would leave their job. Sorry.
If I want to preface this by saying, like, I don't think that these are necessarily going to happen, and you have to understand that once again, I'm willing to sell. I've sold my soul. I will sell my soul.
Yeah.
You know, Devil, if you're listening, come talk to me. If you can get us one of these coaches that will actually turn the Huskers around, there's a soul in it for you. And so, yeah, I want Urban Meyer. I want John Gruden. And for the record, I'm half black and I have giant lips. So the whole Denoris Smith saying that he has huge Michelin lips, it don't bug me. And I'm entitled to that. All right? But Pat Fitzgerald, if I could wish on a star, I've always respected him because of what he's been able to get out of that team. I mean, they don't look that good now, but they looked, they've always played us tough. He just, Jerry Kill is like low on the list because I think he's an actual person we could actually get. I don't think it would even be that tough considering he's taken a step. Yeah.
I wouldn't want that. I would rather have PJ Fleck than Jerry
I'd
Kill.
rather have Fleck. All right. Fleck can come on down. There's a lot of guys, man. There's a lot of guys. I want to ask you, what does, in the remaining games, in your opinion, Mickey have to do to keep the job for next year? Or is that a possibility?
For sure show progression across the board. And I don't mean like take a step up and then go through the season. I'm like, not game by game, but a couple weeks by couple weeks, progressively keep getting better. Obviously get some wins, some big wins. There'll be plenty of opportunity for big wins on the second half of the season. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's like a magic number or a specific game or anything like that. But I mean, if if the team takes a jump and then a couple weeks, holds it, stays looking like that, not these ups and downs, playing up to Oklahoma and then dropping back down to Indiana and Rutgers and then up to Minnesota and then down to Purdue, or up to Purdue, but you know what I'm saying, like the competition level, playing up and down, doing that can't be a thing. Like we have to steadily go up and then get some decent wins, but even then it's like how much progression, you know what I mean? So like I don't know like the actual win number or the actual how you would even measure the significance of the increase or the momentum build as it goes, but I think it'd have to be fairly significant, especially if money isn't an option and you have the ability to go get a big name guy who's proven it. Even if Mickey does really well, and it's kind of like, yeah, man, I wouldn't be mad if they hired him. It's going to have to be extraordinary, in my opinion, for them to say, okay, no, sorry, all these names you just brought up, we're going to go with Mickey Joseph as his first time coaching at Power 5 school because we liked what he did, the last 9 games of the season. What do you think?
I'm just laughing here because Chase said selling your soul to Satan isn't a problem solver. I'm just the guy that offers solutions. I'm trying to come up with something here. I'm willing to do what I can.
You're actually sacrificing.
I want to do my part for the Huskers. So a lot of people are saying Zach Taylor.
That's not
now. It's not okay. That is a long-term play. That's a play where the Bengals get frustrated and they think, oh, we need to make a change. They let him go, and then we talk about Zach Taylor.
Yeah,
that's not
happening.
Not leaving the Bengals that just went to the Super Bowl for us. It's not going to happen. We're his girlfriend from high school, and he's dating Gisele Bundchen now. If she gets sick of him, he might Facebook us. Okay? That was for the boomers.
Gotcha.
But that...
How good is he? How good is he as a coach?
Good enough to get to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, and he's got the Husker ties.
Is he, or did he have a GM that started getting guys over the last 2 years while he absolutely sucked while he was there, had some of the worst records in the entire league, and then all of a sudden Burrow isn't hurt and can utilize the weapons he has around him, and now all of a sudden they look amazing? Or is it because he's just that good of a coach that these guys that were all first rounders that everybody expected to be really good, he somehow managed to get them to play like first rounders? Like there's something to that, but acting like he took a bunch of ragtag nobodies that was dumped off everybody's practice squad and took him to the Super Bowl, and because he went here, like it's just a shoe-in that like, well, he'll come here and then he'll be good because he took a team to the Super Bowl. Yeah, that team had how many like Pro Bowlers or guys that could have been that weren't, and you know what I mean? Like for years they were drafting very high up and putting players together. One got hurt, so then they come back all healthy and they're playing together. Like how good is he?
You really are unbearable sometimes.
I'm fine with it, man.
The fact that you would disparage Zach Taylor.
I'm not disparaging. I'm asking the question. How good is he of a coach?
Good enough to take the Bengals, who've been a dumpster fire just like us forever, to the Super Bowl. I don't care. Gotcha. I don't care. Okay. So
if he comes here, is he going to be able to turn us around, or is he going to need to get 2 Heisman Trophy winners, 3 runner-ups, and 4 in the discussion at some point in the season, and then go, okay, now I'm going to be an amazing coach? Like, I don't know. Maybe he is an amazing coach and he could take the 3 and sometimes 4-star talent we have and turn it around. But
look, he took that McVay offense that he learned there, and he successfully applied it to last year to Joey Burrow. Yeah. If you can do that at the highest level of football, like,
but why didn't he apply it to anybody else the previous years that he was there? That's what I'm saying.
You're really unbearable. It's like, yeah. I wish I could just reach through this. But, Justin Fields won a game today, so I'm in a good mood. I'm going to let it slide.
I appreciate you, man.
All right? Let's go back to the chat because they are infinitely more interesting than you.
Go back to Baylor's coach, to Aranda. What do you think about him?
About who?
Aranda. Dave Aranda.
I'm down. I'm open, bro. I'm here. You give me a good, you give me a successful coach who looks promising. I'm here, man, because I'm done caring about their ties, where they're from, and just give me somebody successful who looks like they're competent. That's all I'm asking for, because I'm looking for a step up. Even if this next coach is just a bridge coach, and then we find somebody maybe, several years down the road or a few years down the road, that's cool too. I need to get out of this week-to-week embarrassment. This is not just, oh, look at them, they can beat small teams, but they can't beat the teams that are in their, in the Big Ten. No, dog, we can't beat anybody. We can't beat anyone. And that's got to stop. So just get that to stop. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll bring Pelini back. I don't think that would ever happen. I know a lot of people are talking about Pelini. It's kind of a funny thing, but the way he left, the way he gave everybody the double bird on the way out and dropped some F-bombs, and I don't think that could ever happen.
Yeah. I like you haven't brought it up. I don't know if anybody said it in the chat, but I would like Fickle.
Okay.
I think he'd be good. I was talking to Joe earlier this morning, and we were talking about why it's not like the shoe. I don't know that he wants him or not. It seemed like maybe no, but I don't think that's as clear of a shoe-in. But to me, it's a little more impressive what he's done at the speed to be. Because it's easy to say, okay, you go to this other conference and you get some good recruits, and then you start running them. But he's like beating up on and competing with their non-conference schedule against the big schools, and been in the Big Ten, understands that, went through that whole system and chain of things or whatever. I think that would be a good hire. I would put that up there with some of my more preferred choices. I don't know what you think about him.
No, dude, Fickle's, a lot of people are talking Fickle. I was going to get to that and ask you. I'm super down for Fickle, man. Somebody said Belichick. Maybe they're talking about Belichick's son who works the video camera. Pelini was the Nostradamus of Husker football. Pelini was fun, man. You can't say that we weren't entertained thoroughly week to week, and we had a chance to win versus big teams back then, man, but it wasn't good enough. Hummus Hero says Fickle has turned down all kinds of great jobs. He only wants the Ohio State job. Yeah, but isn't Day locked in there?
I would think.
I mean, he's really good. He's
young. There's no reason to think he's stepping down or doing anything anytime soon,
unless he gets Jim Trestled, and they, which can't really happen anymore. I'm sure they could fix that, NIL wise. They wouldn't have to sell they wouldn't have to sell their rings and stuff for tattoos. But unless he gets Trestled out of there, he seems like he's there for a good long while. Let's see. Yeah, they're saying Fickle's definitely waiting on OSU. Tyler says Day's itching for the NFL. So maybe he does leave. I could see that. Jordan says he thinks Urban Meyer's waiting on Notre Dame.
Yeah, wasn't that the thing when they hired Kelly? It was like everybody thought he was going there before he went to Ohio State or whatever. Yeah. So I could see that if he's going to get back into it. But, I mean, this is their first year. I mean, they just got their coach, so how long? I mean, he could wait a couple of years, obviously. He's sat out a few years and then gone back to jobs and then sat out a few years before, but I don't know. He's got that Fox money. So, I mean, there's really no reason for him to rush into a job. He does have the luxury of picking and choosing, but I mean, if what Trev's saying, and he's going to brings trucks up to people's houses to give them offers, and does he say no to it?
I mean, I would hope not. I don't see Notre Dame getting Urban. Like, that seems like they would care more, considering it's a Catholic school.
Well, I could see him wanting him later. You know what I mean? They were like, after just hiring a guy. I mean, you're going to fire him after 1 year. So how long would he wait? Would he pass up on how comparable the money is to what he would make if Nebraska were to offer him to what he's making at Fox to make in the meantime of going to, if he really does, if his final destination plan is Notre Dame, I mean, how much money could you make over 5 years or 4 years, whatever, while this coach runs his course?
Bill O'Brien, good old Billy B,
Billy.
the Houston Texans ruiner. What do you think?
I'm not a big fan of him, but I mean, he did really well at Penn State, well enough to get hired into the NFL.
Really, really good at Penn State. Wasn't that right when they had their turmoil? Like, he took over in the midst of chaos.
Was it him?
I'm pretty sure that was back when it was, man.
I don't know.
I could be wrong. Tell me in the chat.
I should know, but it was either him. It was either him or it happened like right when he left that came out, and then Franklin got there and got it going. But I don't know.
Well, Shenander's got to go. Do you think there's any defensive coaches out there? Not that you would know any at the top of your head, but how would we do that? How would we go about that?
You mean
call
like
up Carl Pelini?
Yeah.
Text Carl Pelini.
And we got a key, a blow, and a blank check here for you. What do you mean like in season? Like for Mickey Joseph to come out tomorrow?
Is there anyone you can
be like?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Does that happen? That's happened before. I believe Texas has done that before.
I wouldn't say that nothing has happened. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure there's incidents where things have happened, but bringing an outside guy in the middle of the year, I can't think of one example that's ever happened. Getting rid of guys and bringing somebody in-house up, yeah. But again, who do you bring up? And something like a defense, like you have a system that you've been running and working on, not just all year, but for most of those guys ever since they've been there. So how would you change that? You know what I mean? Like, you bring somebody in-house up, they're just working with that same defense. Now, granted, there's things you can do. You can call different plays and different schemes in different situations, especially if you understand your defense's weakness and strengths. You can call plays accordingly that might not be getting called now. Like, there's definitely tweaks and things you can do with it. But I mean, as far as a big change mid-season, like, you got to just have to roll with what you got.
I like the idea of bringing someone in new. I know this sounds stupid, okay? I like bringing in somebody that's just not working right now, who you know is good, if that exists, and just changing shit up. Dude, I truly don't believe that we can be any worse on defense. I think we have good talent on defense. That's the fun part, is we've got talent, but our scheme, I don't like it. I don't like that we're a pass-stopping defense in the Big Ten. It'll work against... It's not going to work.
They can't stop the pass.
That's like what we're built for right now, is to stop the pass. That can kind of help you when you play against top-tier Big Ten teams that actually pass the ball. But for your run-of-the-mill Big Ten team, they're going to power through you. And then these little schools are powering through us. So I wouldn't mind having somebody else come in. I mean, I see Lovie Smith here. Now, I would not want him to come in and be our head coach. But if you could bring somebody of that caliber in just to run the defense, I'd do it. Is that impossible? Could it get worse? Can our defense get worse if we try to teach them a different scheme and say, look, I know we were doing this, we're going to do this week?
Like changing it in season?
Yes.
No, man. Like, do you not understand like the complications that
I don't.
For like,
I really don't.
An entire unit to learn just language alone, but then how to line up right and how to read. So much defense is you're in your spot, but if the tight end does this, then you do this. Your primary thing is to do this, but if the running back goes into motion, then you do this. If the guard pulls and goes to the opposite side B gap, you do this. If it's a C gap, it depends on from position to position, all those things. And then it's like, what's your base set? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many different things. If you're talking about doing like a full overhaul, you don't do that in the middle of the season. I don't think it would be humanly possible to do that. You would have to gradually go, okay, we're gonna implement this set this week, and we're going to have these handful of plays that we're going to start learning, and we're going to try and hopefully plug in a few of them this weekend to see how they work. And a lot of the times it's going to be a disaster. You have guys lined up out of space. It's going to look worse than or as bad as a lot of the plays we saw yesterday. And you're thinking like a whole system of doing that in the midseason. Like, I don't understand the idea that that's
the idea is that it can't get any worse.
I promise you, change the entire system. Try to change the entire system on the defensive side midseason. I promise you it'll get worse.
I don't want to do it before Oklahoma, but
you don't want to do it at all. I'm telling you, man, like, you think the defense is getting work now. Like, it would be.
Dog, yeah. They're so bad. They're so bad. You were there in person. Why are you protecting him?
Because you're making my point for me. If you can't execute the defense that you've spent all year working on, that most of you played in the last 2 and 3 years, if you can't execute that defense, let's give you a whole shitload of new stuff to jumble in your brain along with this. And then at rapid fire, when teams are going tempo on you and things like that, we'll plug it in and you'll be able to execute that better. Because, hey, after all, it can't be any worse than this. Come on, man. That's crazy.
Dude, our offense is good. What tweak? Our offense, as is, good enough to win, I believe, any game that our defense could keep us in. Is that a fair statement?
What tweak?
No, let's. I'm just saying, if our defense could keep us in games, do you feel like our offense is good enough to help us win almost any game we're in?
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, for sure.
So what tweak to the defense is going to get them there?
I mean, as bad as the defense has been, both Northwestern and yesterday, if the offense could have scored, and there was punts and there was turnovers, if the offense could have scored one more time, we win. Both of those games without one thing changing on the defense. So it's not like, I'm not saying the defense is even decent. The defense is obviously horrible, but it's not like it's to the point where, I mean, we're down 30 something points by halftime every game. And, you know,
no, because our offense is carrying and answering the bell and scoring along with our defense giving up points.
Right. But had it not been for missed field goals in both of those losses, you at least had ties. I don't know how many different a couple punts, how many turnovers, like with all of those things factored in, like, yeah, now you're expecting more out of the offense. I get that. But the offense could still be winning games, not keeping us in the games, winning games for us in spite of the defense. So, like, back to the point we were talking about with the Mickey Joseph thing, maybe he makes some tweaks and we get an extra drive or two.
Your answer is that we need to score more.
Yes, in response to your idea of changing the entire defense in midseason, yes, it's more realistic to go tell the offense, hey, you're gonna have to get another touchdown a game. 100%.
God damn, what do you guys think about that in the chat? Is that not like the grimmest thing you've ever heard? I mean,
that's a grim situation, bro. I mean, I'm seriously curious what you think is involved in changing an entire defense. That you think it's just hey, tomorrow we're going to go get a new defensive coordinator. We're going to come in here and Wednesday we're going to practice the new defense and we're going to walk through it on Friday and we're going to roll it out Saturday.
I'm not saying change everything, but change some shit up. Instead of rarely blitzing, maybe blitz more. That doesn't have to be the answer. Instead of having 4 down linemen, have a 5th one in there sometimes when they're running it down your goddamn throat. I don't
that's
know.
Back to what I'm saying with situational play calling. That's not changing the whole defense. We're talking about two different things.
Well, Frost wasn't calling the plays. Shenander is for defense. I know Frost is okaying them. I'm not talking about
Frost. I'm saying the reason why the difference in changing over a defense, revamping an entire defense in midseason.
I almost wish I would be willing to lose the argument if we could see it play out. I kind of wish it would play out we bring someone in and you're just like, oh shit, I guess I was wrong again. I guess they are going to do the unthinkable.
Gladly be wrong.
Well, I would love to see that play out because, bro, it just doesn't. I mean, we are when Georgia Southern runs the ball on us, the Red Sea opens and they just 60 some yards, like several times. It wasn't 60 yards several times, but there were holes in that line that this is not hyperbole, Gary. You could have gained a first down at least once in that game, and you're 40. Am I lying about that, Gary?
I said it multiple times at the game.
I mean, so how does it get worse? By having someone else in there preaching it, because whoever's below Shenander probably isn't ready. Do you think, is it possible maybe, Rude has a different philosophy that, maybe he would like to implement if he could have a chance? Yeah, maybe he would throw it back to the way we were playing defense when he was here.
Yeah, that's for sure possible. That could work. What also could work was when they run the same zone running play on you, the same way that North Dakota did, and gouge you, and the same thing that Northwestern's done, and you figure out how to get guys to stay in their gap. Doesn't that make more sense or sound a little simpler? Or bench them, right? It's simpler to bench a guy who can't stay sound in his assignments on defense when they're running the same plays. It's not like they're tricking you and mixing it up. Either figure out what you have to do in practice during the week to get guys to stay home, to do their assignments, and then to actually wrap up and tackle, or get them on the bench and bring somebody else in, because like you're saying, it can't get any worse. But the idea that now you're going to take every position and every level of that defense and learn new things and re-scheme things in the middle of the season, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Anybody who thinks that's a good idea, like, you can say anything you want to say. Like, I don't take any value in what you've got to say on that point on. Like, that's just ridiculous to think that. Yeah, that's dumb. There's just way too much going on to just, oh yeah, we're going to change the defense out here over the next couple weeks. Like, good luck. Yeah, you're right. Like, two things can be right at once. That can be the dumbest move and one of the most impossible things to do, and the defense not be any worse. But it definitely isn't getting better. So if you're just going to roll through a list of shit that you can do to be the same and go, hey, not any worse, then yeah, there's a ton of things you can do. But if you're trying to look at ways to make it better, so that my whole thing where I was kind of like saying, this is how crazy it sounds to me when I'm like, we'll just have the offense score another touchdown. That's actually easier than this crazy idea you're throwing out. Tweak the guys at the position and move them around, or address those spots, as opposed to, we got to revamp the whole entire defense midseason. Like, and as Mickey Joseph being the head coach is going to think that's a good idea, so that they can give up even more points as we go into the heart of the schedule, as he's trying to maintain or earn a head coaching job. I just don't see that even being worth really talking about.
Do you want Shenander to stay for the rest of the season?
It doesn't matter to me if he stays or not.
Do you want him to stay? I don't see
a difference. I genuinely don't care, man. Either he stays and keeps calling his defense. I'll say no, I don't want him to, just because if you let
know what I'll do to you?
Yeah, and that's what scares me the most.
Good.
That's what keeps me from sleeping at night. No, because back to kind of the point that we're both settling on is, you get somebody else in there that it's still going to be the gist of that defense, but situationally and maybe even personnel-wise, they'll change some things up that might work. You tweak a few things here and there that might start clicking and getting some momentum for you on that side of the ball. So, yeah, I would be cool with him going, because the bottom line is going anyways, right? That's what I was saying last night about why it didn't matter to me when Frost went, if he was going to go, because everybody's going to remain. And then at the end of the year, they're all going to go anyways. So, I mean, everybody's pretty much like in a lame duck situation, right? Except for maybe Mickey Joseph. And if he does happen to stay, which I don't think it'll be him, then maybe a handful of guys that are there will stay. But you got to think that defensive side of the ball is gone, right? Like, either way, whether it's him that stays or we get somebody else in.
Yeah, I'm glad you came to your senses there. Gurr says, Gabe, Ohio State tried to change their defensive philosophy during the season last year, and it went horrible. They have one of the best rosters in college football. That's a good point. You know, we're pretty up in the air right now, man. Like, anything can happen. It's kind of exciting. What Joe tell you? Said he felt like he was kid in a candy store, kid on Christmas morning. You know, I mean, this is exciting.
He never wanted Frost in the first place, though.
Yeah.
So
it hurts for me because I wanted him to succeed so badly. Because how cool is that, dog? Yeah. I would have felt the same way if it was Eric Crouch. It's just like one of our guys who used to do his thing here came back as a top coaching prospect. That's so cool. If his name was anything other than a Husker alum name, his ass would have been out of here like 2 years ago. Yeah. And that's the God's honest truth of it, though. You know, it's nepotism. It's kind of a
especially
form of, yeah.
You know, instead of giving that, like, we're going to restructure you and we're going to have you make these changes or let you make whatever you want to call it, however that panned out, like that wouldn't have happened. Like, today would have happened at some point last year at the latest.
Anything else you want to say on this Frost topic before we get to doing some videos? We've got to make videos. There's going to be so much content to be made. Anything else from you, Bretta?
Not really, man. I'm really curious to see. I mean, it's going to be chaos with all the names that come up and the so-and-so's talking to so-and-so or somebody was visiting with somebody. But like when they start getting like real traction and things are a real possibility, to start looking more into that and seeing what the possibilities are, you know.
All right, man. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out. If you didn't hit the like button already, please slap it on your way out. We will see you guys soon with another video. Until then, GBR.